It's time for the penultimate session of the evening, ladies and gentlemen. This time, with the two of our speakers here, we will navigate the digital wave. So we will go along and talk about how do we transform the financial services with AI, security, and cloud infrastructure all at the same time. Well, this, as you can see, it's going to be a one-on-one conversation. So what's the wait for? Allow me to first off welcome the CEO of Sify Technologies, Kamal Nath. Could we please have you on the stage? Well, of course, with all the experience that you're getting onto the stage, this will further fortify our understanding of how the future of the digital banking will look like. Thank you very, very much for joining us. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's also welcome an industry maven whom we all look up to as well. Please welcome the CTO from SBI. Please welcome Balaji Rajagopalan with a lovely, good round of cheer. Mr. Rajagopalan, thank you very, very much for spending your time and energies, the leading minds over here. We are absolutely in our full concentration, ready to hear what the talk has to say. Thank you.
Yeah, so first of all, Balaji, thank you so much for being able to make here. So I was just wondering when we spoke in the morning and you were a little tentative whether you were able to join or not. I told myself and Anjali also that how can a banking summit, happen or conclude without participation of State Bank of India? Isn't it true? Yeah. So, with so many things, I think the context has been set multiple times. Balaji, you are not there. I have been listening to, the conversations. And it has been very insightful with participation from the core banking community as well as technology leaders from various organizations, consultants. But for me, it's a great pleasure and honor to have you by my side. Although, during our business association, we converse and discuss many things. But I also want, the audience over here to get insight how difficult and what are the typical characteristics of, of running the technology of a bank like State Bank of India. So just to set the perspective, SBI happens to be our customer also, and we are, we are handling some very key projects in SBI. So having gone through that journey, I can very surely say that, and we have many other banking customers, but things in SBI are very, very different. So with this, Balaji, I want to start, this session. And my first question to you would be, like, with the aspiration of almost every bank to become a completely digital bank, SBI, of course, is no different and is leading. So what are your, priorities around that? And what kind of key initiatives is SBI taking, and particularly in the backdrop of your social responsibility?
Yeah, thank you, Kamal. I would not restrict to bank of SBI. Probably I've just generalized more of the industry expertise or the experience in terms of expectations. Bank is a trust for the customers. Customers do have trust on bank, and customers invest on the bank, so there's a moral social responsibility that the customers will be able to operate right from onboarding to the complete customer services. How do we ensure that we have a safe, secured financial transactions and at the same time frictionless at the convenience of the customers? Earlier it was only branch, internet, ATM, but now last 5 years you can see, all of you know, that the amount of convenience to customers is being the topmost priority. Secured, data privacy, data security, always on. Banking is one area where customer service are expected to be available always on. There are emergency needs, there are different demands from the customer segmentation. The expectation from the customers have changed. So hygiene becomes always on, frictionless customer journey, convenience of the customer, secured, and there's a DPDP Act which is coming in terms of data privacy, data act. So there are a lot of expectations on the bank as such. Infrastructure, technology disruption, market disruption, digital disruption. So there are a huge amount of opportunities which are capable, which are required in the overall in the bank. As an expectation, every bank is expected to have fundamentally on the resilience part of it, because regulators are very particular about it. And large banks like all the key banks are expected to make sure that the resilience is being taken care. Banks cannot afford to fail. So from the availability perspective, infrastructure modernization, application modernization, in terms of data, again, in the last 5 years, data has become very rich for the banks in terms of customer data, both internal data as well as external data, which becomes a primary information for providing a contextual-based customer service, providing the fundamental meeting the nature of the customers. And while all of you would have understood about AI, there are again huge opportunities with the combination of data-rich capabilities. Getting away from the legacy again is there are huge opportunities. While it's a challenge, it is also an opportunity for us to re-engineer the process, re-engineer the applications, and provide the convenience for the customers. Banks are working with regulators. Regulators are guiding us in terms of various new initiatives, new avatars of payments, the Jandan capabilities, Aadhaar, mobile banking comes with huge opportunities. It helps to onboard the customers quickly. It provides the convenience to the customers. It provides the complete end-to-end frictionless customer journey and the convenience. Banking is no more of banking. Banking is happening more, financial transactions happening more non-banking, I would say. That's a change which has happened in the entire industry as such.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I heard you talking about customer experience and for service availability and customer experience. So, and we heard the mention of AI multiple times during the session, including the last speaker. So, why do you think, and how do you think that AI can contribute to the cause of customer experience, of course, in a positive manner?
Yeah, so country like India, starting from language, while we talk about ChatGPT, it's just a kind of a hype which has been created in the market, but these are all available long back. Fundamentally, language is one of the key area, right? A country like India has a lot of languages. You have the ability to have mobile apps with different language. Based on my language code, I can give the convenience. A chatbot capabilities, knowledge bot capabilities, whether it is internal customers like branch users or feet on street where the agent or a correspondence is going on. In all these capabilities, you have convenience of being a language, knowledge bot, what to serve, what are the helps which are available, what are the assisted journeys. From a customer convenience perspective, is it becoming an assisted journey? So apart from knowledge bot, when I upload a document, am I ensuring that my right valid document is being uploaded? It starts with those basic validations. It starts with defaulting the value so that I don't need to punch in the data. So document intelligence plays a crucial value. Knowledge bot, which I told you. There are a lot of people, customers who still keep sending emails. Email, there is a lot of emotional content which can be traced with AI. So an email comes to the bank, at least there are a lot of capabilities which I have demonstrated in the earlier organizations where you can get the email, understand the intent, go to the respective CRM system. Example, if there's a credit card got rejected, right? Request has got rejected. I can send an auto response with a human touch feeling saying that greetings, a standard template is there. Based on the emotional content of what is the nature of the transaction. You identify the product, you identify the categories, there are 2-3 levels of training, then it goes to the CRM system, it figures out what is the actual reason for customer response or the actual service request systems, it sends automated response. Imagine if this needs to be handled for the population and the volume of the bank or for the country. It takes huge opportunities. You will have hundreds of people only sitting at email, struggling and logging into different applications. So there are huge opportunities. Providing a contextual-based customer service, huge opportunities. And again, facial recognition. If you have a negative business of 1 lakh customers, I can't remember, it's impractical for somebody to remember the hundreds, lakhs of customers where there are negative base. If the facial recognition of every onboarding customer, there are 512 coordinates which are there. It gives you a scorecard, it gives you a vector. It matches and says any image which is matching 80% threshold limit. Show me the matching cases. So there are huge opportunities. Similarly, back office operations, state finance operations are huge, multi-page documents. Huge opportunities are where consistent documents, scrutiny. So I can go on. So there are huge opportunities.
No, I completely agree. In fact, I mean, as consumers to the bank, with respect to the bank, all of us are looking forward to that. And the other aspect, which, I'm just taking cue from what you have just mentioned, which is hyper-personalization.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I guess, hyper-personalization will become the key differentiator in every digital business. Right. So, where do you think the challenge is in hyper personalization, or and how can it be used as an opportunity, to improve customer experience as well as more business?
See, why hyper-personalization? There are different nature of customers, different segment of customers, retail, corporate, and within retail, individual, you have a different set of customers. You have a salaried, you have a government, you have a farmer, you have a professionals like doctor, and so on. So the nature of expectations based on the spend analysis, based on the income expense, based on the segment of customers, you can identify and based on that, you provide the need of the customer. A person who gets salary of 1 crore or 2 crores, you can't give a cross-sell upsell and say, give me a two-wheeler loan, right? It's not relevant. So hyper-personalization is all about meeting the need of the customer based on the data. Data, again, as I mentioned earlier, internal and external data plays a huge opportunity. Like if I have a loan, if I have a housing loan, there's a SSI. If I have a loan, auto loan, I have a Vahan. Similarly, if I do have trade finance transactions, I have huge RBI portal. Banks have rich data availability, CIBIL score, huge opportunities with this internal, external data. How banks are leveraging to identify the segment of customers, what are the needs of the customers, and again, touching upon the AI capability. If I have a knowledge bot or a chat bot, for example, virtual assistant, if customer is saying in one of the channel, what is the housing loan interest? If I already have a pre-approved offer, if I'm able to say that you have a pre-approved housing loan of 1 crore, or in my next instance, whether I walk into a branch or go to log into any other channel, if I'm saying, hi, you inquired for a housing loan interest, you have a pre-approved of 50 lakhs or 1 crore, that is hyper-personalization. And of course, there are huge amount of opportunities in terms of every nature of transactions, interactions, and so on. So based on the data, the cognitive capabilities with the back office systems being completely scrutinized and ensuring that you have a persona of builders of the marketing capabilities, that makes a real hyper-personalization.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, the other aspect which I just want to inquire with you is around the fact that every B2C digital services company, need to access banking services, right? And probably you are in the center point of that, And I heard earlier speakers, be it in the panel or in the speaking slot, talking about, how banks are planning to provide banking as a service, maybe to a e-commerce company or a health tech company or to a utility services provider. So what are your thoughts on this, Balaji?
Yeah, as I mentioned, in the last 10 years, the financial transactions are no more happening only in banking. They are initiated in multiple different industries. Every industry you talk about, there's a supply chain, there's a need for money flow, cash flow, which is happening to the digital transactions. So there are corporates, if you look at, there are solutions where banks are providing to the integration of the ERPs through APIs. There's a huge reconciliation, which there is in practical, there are probabilities. So with API capabilities, people are able to meet the entire supply chain. And at the same time, with API capabilities of the bank and ERPs, there's an instant online services which are being done to avoid reconciliations, to avoid frauds, to avoid misuses, and the overhead of the entire life cycle, which takes months and days to reconcile, and at the same time avoid the frauds. So there are huge opportunities to integrate with the merchants, like for example, something like Uber, Ola, right? Urban Clamp. In everywhere, there's a financial transaction being achieved. Whether it is a corporates or retail individuals or various app journeys, you are able to do a financial transaction and not initiate with the bank. Right? That's why I said, like in Brett King, who talks about saying that banking everywhere, but not in the bank. The number of transactions happening in the bank are less compared to outside the bank. So the ecosystem integration is extremely important.
Absolutely. That's the premise. So banking as a service for different, it's like a product catalog,
Correct.
services catalog.
Services catalog.
Yeah, exactly. So, why all these things are very exciting, Balaji, and we all of us know that the kind of risks which are there, in front of a bank or any other financial services company with respect to, you know, data integrity, with respect to security. Now, when you have to reach out to so many different profiles of customers, and when you are integrated with so many different, ecosystem partners, right? Obviously, the question of security cannot be ignored, and with the perimeter completely almost dissolving to a great extent, the challenges are also very unique. Now, to that extent, of course, we tend to think about AI to solve those kind of problems which are difficult to get solved, right? And we know security industry has been there, and there are new security threats almost every quarter. So, why do you feel and how do you feel that AI can play a good role or a very significant role in solving this, or at least in making a bank stronger prepared, or better prepared rather, for this?
Yeah, so while you are one of the managed services, you may be knowing this, but just for the uh, forum, it starts from the channel internet access. Internet is more vulnerable no, with respect to cyber security, cyber attack. So starting from the anti-DDoS solution, the security operations centers of the bank and the network operations center of the bank are extremely crucial in terms of how do you make sure that there are certain vulnerabilities, malicious attack which are coming in, something on the ransomware attack, how the organizations are being prepared, how do you even identify before you become a scapegoat or you are being really impacted for the organizations. So in all these areas, there are monitoring tools which are available, but how do we have this kind of actual capabilities of signals, malicious contents, which are coming from various things? Secure file gateway, again, you send a lot of file exchanges. India, we have a lot of file-based operations which are there. How do you make sure that the content is being there? DLP solutions, data leakage prevention kind of solutions are available. Right from email, you can say these are the attached documents. You have O365 capabilities which will say these are the allowed documents, these are the participants, read access, write access, replay access. So are you confident that, are you securing the basic of DLPs, right, from emails to channels to phishing capability? Of course, when he talks about security, at the mercy of the customer's individual app device, banks are also being responsible because it's a kind of social responsibility in terms of education of the public. The phishing of attack happens with the lack of knowledge, the device-related issues, obsolete mobile or kind of apps which are being given access to everything. When you install an app, you keep on accepting everything. But finally, the concern is on the responsibility is passed on to the banks. So as a social responsibility, I think it's also important that regulators and banks are continuously educating on cyber attacks, phishing attacks, and so on. So there are so much lack of knowledge which is being imparted. At the same time, coming to your point on the AI part of it, right from monitoring, detecting the signals in the security operations, network monitoring, again, fraud preventions. Every customer who is supposed to be coming onboarding, I mentioned about the facial recognition of negative customer base. There are a large amount of things, fraud prevention cases, pattern of exceptions, PRM solutions. When a financial transaction happens in a transactions, when a dormant account is being activated, and again, if somebody is saying that I do continuously close the fixed deposit and I do a transfer, it's a signal. There are a lot of business rules which are being configured, PRM solutions are doing there. With the data analytics combination of input, output, internal, external data, you have personal filters which are there. Yeah, so there are huge opportunities again.
Absolutely. So, Balaji, it's showing time's up, but before the closer, I've been normally, you ask me questions.
Yeah.
But this
I
time
would
I've
like
been
to-
asking a question, but still, if you want to ask me anything, I'll be very happy to
definitely,
respond.
yeah. So, as a customer, I would like to definitely ask one of the questions. So banks, as I told you, always on secured and safe transactions, always availability. High availability resilience is one of the key responsibility of the banks, which means that my OEM partners, infrastructure partners, and specifically from the context of infrastructure managed services, availability of the infrastructure 100%. Before an incident happens or downtime or customer service impacts happens, how do you ensure that the managed services are being protected? While intent is good, we do have collaborate, but in reality, there are once in a scenarios, there are some impacts which are being impacted. So what is your thought process on how do we protect, how do we get this governance strong, and how do we get the customer service assurance?
Yeah, I think we do many things, but one of our key service portfolio is managed services. And in digital world, the entire responsibility of a managed services provider has dramatically changed because just imagine outside one small example when an UPI transaction and in the bank's context, when an UPI transaction slows down, you know how many different services can get impacted, or if it stops working. Now, for a bank like SBI and so many SBI customers, I'm just citing SBI as an example, when there's a UPI transaction is getting slowed down and or it is not working, I mean, it's a disaster. It's nothing short of a disaster. So, and unlike the earlier days when there used to be, the branch banking time, it is 24 cross 7. You may be transacting, for paying Uber or, to order something or to maybe in a hospital. It can be anything, right? So as a managed services provider, our responsibility has become so crucial that we have to do things differently, right? Gone are those days when we used to figure out how to solve problems by method of elimination. That means if there are 5 different legs, in the entire stream of data flow, we used to, select, fine, this will not be a problem, the second will not be a problem, and this can be the possible problem. Nowadays, trust me, there is no time for that. So that's where the technology matters. The entire tooling platform, which earlier used to exist, has literally become obsolete now. So the modern day tool or the modern day stack for solving this kind of problem is something called full stack observability. It is like a doctor looking at you and scanning your body, and if you have a fever, the doctor can tell you that probably you have a stone in the kidney, right? So I'm trying to, at the cost of oversimplifying it, the method of detection and detecting exactly why it has happened, number one, and of course, resolving it. Now, while resolving it, you can also take help of technology, which we call AI operations, like artificial intelligence enabled tools and artificial intelligence enabled IT operations. We call it AI ops. For the shortage of time, I won't be able to explain by anything more than that. But even after that, what is expected? A bank, say what I know what Balaji expects. Balaji gives me, target that if you know that the UPI transaction fails or gets slowed down because of ABC reason, how can you next time prompt even before the UPI transaction slows down? So that is the next generation challenge which we are going to do. It's like in healthcare, it's very much situation same situation in healthcare. How can you predict a disease before it has actually impacted you? So I'm sure we'll talk more about that, Balaji, in times to come.
Add upon it, basically when there is a flap in the transaction, somebody will post in Twitter, servers are down, bank servers are down.
Yeah,
Ruthless. Right? So that's a kind of pressure which banks undergo.
Correct. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Time is short and it's over. In fact, she
Thank
has
you.
been hinting me for some time for the last 5 minutes.
We'll
Thank you
request
so
the two
much.
of you to please also post for a photograph there. But thank you so much, Kamal, for initiating that convivial chat, and thank you so much, Mr. Balaji, for being, may I say, a polymath. Of course, leading the mammoth. SBI, of course, as we say, no conversation is complete until we have a representation there. But thank you for those very compelling conversations, and of course, something that we all enjoyed.